Welcome to Live the Dream with yours truly, Marty Kaiser. Buckle up and let's get started. Happy Friday, everyone. Pleased to have another episode of my Real Estate Tidbits podcast. We're going to start off in a little different order today. Usually we start with real estate and spend a good amount of time on real estate and then maybe go into a couple other items of interest, sports, or whatever the case may be. So today, we're going to start off with sports. Reason being, the World Series that we chatted about in our last podcast ended last night. The Los Angeles Dodgers defeated the New York Yankees 4-1. What was noteworthy about this World Series was a couple things. This was supposed to be the battle of the two titans, two of the most prestigious franchises in Major League Baseball. And unfortunately, it was a little bit of a one-sided series from a game standpoint. The games were close, but the Dodgers got up 3-0 and then closed it out last night 4-1. The two big stars for each team, Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge, both of them had very mediocre series, to put it charitably. Aaron Judge especially was disappointing as he just was in a slump pretty much the entire series. He finally got out of it a little bit last night with a home run and a double. Last night's game, the Yankees were ahead 5-0 and then kind of had a meltdown in the fifth inning, made a bunch of errors, and ended up losing the game 6-5. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if these two teams are back in the World Series next year because they should be stronger. The Yankees' only question right now is going to be if they can re-sign their new acquisition from last year, Juan Soto. Juan had a phenomenal year, but is going to be a free agent in baseball, meaning that he's going to be able to command a huge salary. They're talking about him getting a total contract compensation in the neighborhood of $500 or $600 million. Not too shabby. So that's all about baseball. The NFL continues to be exciting. I don't know if anyone saw the game last weekend where the Washington Commanders threw what's called a Hail Mary pass that was deflected on the last play of the game and caught by their wide receivers. So they went from losing the game to winning the game. One thing about the NFL games, frequently they're very close. And one play or one bonehead play by a player or one bad call by an official can have a big impact on the result. But they certainly keep your interest. So that's all about sports today. The next thing, as you're probably aware, the presidential and all the local elections are going to be this coming Tuesday. So today is Friday, and the elections will be on Tuesday. The only thing that I've mentioned to everybody is please get out there and vote. This is a very consequential election. There's a lot of animosity between two contrasting candidates and two contrasting points of view. So do your research, do your due diligence. Don't be fooled by commercials. Research the candidates' records and vote for who you think is going to set the United States on their best course for the future and also hopefully make living better for our citizens, not only less animosity, but more opportunities, more financial stability, et cetera. These past 10 years, for different reasons, have been quite a challenge, and heightened by what happened in COVID in 2020 to 22. It's changed a lot of not only how people work, a lot more remote workers, but just how they look at life. And it's definitely contributed to a lot of changing lifestyles. So anyway, get out there and vote, and it'll be interesting to see actually who wins, because this election supposedly is pretty much a toss-up. And a lot of the pundits are speculating that whoever wins Pennsylvania will be the new president. So we'll see. Getting back to real estate, the past couple of weeks for me personally have been extremely busy. I'm definitely busier now than I was a few months ago, which is unusual because normally as we get into the late fall, real estate quiets down a little bit, and usually your summer months are your busiest months. For me, it's been a little different. The last couple of weeks, I've been extremely busy, both with people purchasing property and people wanting to list property. I think maybe one of the reasons why we were a little quieter a couple months ago, besides all the interest rate fluctuations, were some of the real estate legal changes that I had spent a lot of time going over. And also, I think there was just a lot of uncertainty with people. I think it'll get even busier once the election is over because, as I mentioned last week, about half the population's not going to be happy with the results. And I think a lot of people, there's just so much stress in their lives, they wanted to put off any major decisions like buying or selling real estate until after the election. Interest rates will be going down, but I don't think you're going to see anything noteworthy and probably until the latter part of next year, maybe starting as early as April or May. But as I've mentioned before, I still strongly feel that now is a better time to buy real estate because once the interest rates start to show a little bit of a decline, the perception is going to be that they got to get out there and buy things. And so you're going to have a lot more competition for properties. I think you're going to have bidding wars. And I think a lot of people are going to lose out on their number one choice. So I definitely feel that if you're in a position to purchase real estate now, you're going to get a better bang for your buck doing it now than waiting until mid-2025. Sounds weird to say 2025, but we're getting closer to that date. Besides that, what is actually going on in the real estate industry? Well, it's kind of interesting because I find as I get a little older and as we get new people entering the industry, and of course we get a lot of people that are exiting the industry for various reasons, we have a different set of what I would refer to as real estate norms and work ethic. I know I'll probably seem like somebody who harkens for the good old days, but the thing that I noticed is we have a lack of business etiquette. Like I continually will have periodic showings where an agent will call me, schedule an appointment, we reconfirm it with them. I go into painstaking details so they know all the particulars of how that house is going to be shown and anything that I need to do to make it a smooth showing, not only for the real estate agent, but also for my seller. And then invariably a percentage of these agents won't show up for the appointment, and they don't have the courtesy or professionalism to call. So what ends up happening is when I follow up to see how the showing went, I find out to my dismay that they didn't show up and they didn't call. And of course the seller is upset about that because if it's an occupied property, the seller vacates the property. And of course, even though I've had nothing to do with it, it makes me look bad because it looks like people in the real estate industry are unprofessional. And I'm seeing more of that nowadays. I don't know if it's a cultural thing. People are just not trained properly in the real estate business. They're just oblivious to what good etiquette is, what's professional etiquette. But yet it happens. And other folks, they don't always lock the door up properly. They don't turn the lights off when they show a house. And these are things that I always review with each and every agent. And I just kind of scratch my head and say, how are these agents being trained? And I do find in the real estate industry, there's quite a differential in training between one company and another. That's why, in my opinion, it's so important if you're a newer agent, when you're doing your due diligence and interviewing with various companies, that you do ask the pertinent questions and try to really dig into who's going to offer you the best training. Because real estate is not an easy business to succeed in, and it's gotten more difficult in the past few years due to a lot of different factors that we've touched on before. And that's why over the next year, it's expected that about 30 to 35% of licensed agents in the Central Florida area are going to exit the industry, mainly because they're either not getting enough gratification or probably in most cases, they're just not making a livable wage. It's a very competitive business. You've got to know your stuff. You've got to be hardworking. You've got to be professional. You've got to be ready to be willing to. You've got to be willing to be on call all the time. You've got to know how to handle a variety of people from all over the world. You know how to smooth unusual situations over. You know how to problem solve. You have to know how to market. You have to know how to negotiate contracts. And then you have to oversee a transaction to make sure it successfully closes. So there's a lot of components to it, and a lot of people I don't think are really prepared for that. And then, of course, when they see how hard they have to work, and a lot of people are making a very, mediocre wage, I guess is a nice way to put it, it's a continual seesaw of people in and out of the industry. So it can be very gratifying, both on a personal level and financially, but it requires extensive effort, skill set, and professionalism. So I highly recommend to people to do their research, and also when they enter the industry, to have the resources so that they can withstand going a few months without making a sale, because it takes time to get started in a new business. So those are some of the things that I've currently experienced with professionalism. Another thing that I experience, which is probably more age-related, is that most of the agents only want to text. So texting is fine for quick communication, and for what I would call relatively mundane information, it's fine. However, when something is a little bit more involved, or you need to be more nuanced in your discussions, maybe discuss different issues that have popped up, why somebody negotiated in a certain way, explaining why possibly when you received an offer, the agent wasn't basing the offer on current data. They were just kind of shooting from the hip. There can be a whole variety of reasons. But in a lot of those circumstances, at least in my experience, when you're able to engage in a telephone conversation, whether it's just a regular phone conversation or whether it's FaceTime or whether it's Zoom, whatever the case may be, it just heightens and increases the probability of no misunderstandings and a more successful conclusion. But I don't know if it's that people below a certain age they just don't use the phone anymore. They feel it's an unnecessary nuisance or whatever the case may be. But it's still, in my opinion, when you're dealing in a person-to-person business relationship, it's important that your communications eliminate misunderstandings, because misunderstandings when you're dealing in real estate, when you're dealing with, not inexpensive products and services that you're talking about with people, it's crucial that you do that. And so a lot of times I have to reach out more than one time to reach people. I'm sure you've all experienced this, whether you're trying to call an individual or you're trying to call a business or whatever the reason is. All you do is get voicemail, or you'll get a prompt system, dial 1 for this, dial 2 for that. And at least for me, it's very frustrating because you can't get accomplished what you're hoping to do. You often don't get callbacks. You have to do things 3 and 4 times frequently. And I'm from the old school in that I make sure the things get done, but it requires me to spend more time and sometimes frustration in doing what shouldn't be that difficult a task, but because of people's reluctance to properly communicate, it becomes a lot more of a challenge. Do I think I'm old-fashioned? I don't think so. I just think I try to do things in a professional manner, and I try to make sure I achieve results, and I try to make sure those results are achieved in a stress-free manner. And I think my customers appreciate that because I put the burden on myself. You know, I should be the conduit for all interaction between my customer and whoever I have to deal with. And I do my best to achieve that. But I certainly wish that in the course of people interacting in this industry, they have a better handle on proper communications. So that's kind of my perspective on how business is transacted in the year 2024. It's probably not going to change next year in terms of the things that frustrate me. But maybe if I have a few people that listen to this podcast that maybe think to themselves, well, yeah, maybe I am guilty of that in a few situations, and I'm going to work on that as a New Year's resolution for 2025. I think people that work on those things are going to find that they're more successful, and they help their transaction be a lot smoother. And, you know, the whole point of me doing these podcasts is obviously I try to share information both with potential consumers, people just interested in real estate, people that are in the real estate business that may tune into my shows. Obviously, I try to let people be aware of who I am and what I stand for, and I'm always going to do that. So hopefully you'll find this information that I share interesting, informative. At times, I try to be a little funny, but I'm probably more on the serious side of things just because that's my personality. And so that's all I have to say for today. I want everybody to have a great weekend. Again, get out and vote. If you have any questions or concerns or would like me to bring up any new topics, feel free to contact me. My email address is marty@floridasells.com. And be on the lookout. I will be putting up another new listing next week in the Hunters Creek area and would love to share it with you. Take care and be safe. Marty Kaiser out.